The Renaissance wasn't just about art and genius. Behind Michelangelo's David and Brunelleschi's Dome, there was money. And behind that money was one family. The Medici. They didn't just fund the Renaissance. They invented the economy that made it possible, turning banking into an empire and loans into power. They were the blueprint for every dynasty that has ever used wealth to rule from the shadows. To understand the Medici, you have to understand their world. The late 14th century was not a golden age. Europe was reeling from the Black Death, and the old feudal system was collapsing. What replaced it wasn't democracy, it was money. Trade routes reopened. Merchants grew rich, and cities like Florence became hubs of commerce. Power was shifting from land to finance. Into this world stepped Giovanni de Medici. In 1397, he founded the Medici Bank. It started small, but Giovanni understood the new game. Money was moving across borders faster than armies. He set up a network of branches across Europe in Venice, Rome, Geneva, even London. But his masterstroke was becoming the bankers of the church. They handled papal finances, tithes, and even the sale of indulgences. The Medici literally profited from sin and salvation, giving them influence over the most powerful institution in Europe. Giovanni's son, Cosimo, took this foundation and turned it into an empire. He didn't seize power with armies. He bought it with strategic loans, gifts, and bribes. When his enemies exiled him, he didn't wait for a rebellion. He paid the right people, and within a year, he was back, ruling Florence from behind the scenes. He didn't need a crown because he had money. If a politician owed him, they voted his way. Florence became a republic in name, but a Medici business in reality. Cosimo didn't just buy politics. He bought immortality through art. He commissioned Brunelleschi's Dome for the Florence Cathedral, a masterpiece of engineering that became a symbol of both Florence's and the Medici's greatness. Every corner of the city whispered the same message. The Medici made this possible. His grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, took it even further. He funded artists like Botticelli and the young Michelangelo, turning patronage into a political strategy. He threw lavish festivals and built a court culture that made Florence the heart of the Renaissance. To the world, it looked like a cultural boom. In reality, it was Lorenzo using art to mask his absolute control. When rivals tried to assassinate him during Mass in the Papacy conspiracy, he survived. His brother died at the altar. The conspirators were hunted down and hung from the windows of Florence, and the Medici grip only tightened. But perhaps their most audacious move was turning bankers into popes. The Medici produced two of them, Pope Leo X and Pope Clement VII. The family that managed the church's money literally put its own sons on the throne of St. Peter. Pope Leo X famously said, "Since God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it," and treated the Vatican like a family estate. His aggressive sale of indulgences to fund his lavish lifestyle ironically triggered Martin Luther's rebellion and sparked the Protestant Reformation. The Medici Pope's greed helped fracture the church itself, and they didn't stop there. They married into royal families across Europe. Catherine de' Medici became Queen of France and one of the most powerful women of her time, ruling as regent for her sons and influencing decades of bloody religious conflict. At their peak, their gold florin became the international currency of Europe. They didn't just run a bank. They ran the entire financial system of the Renaissance world. But like all empires, theirs eventually cracked. Mismanagement and bad loans weakened the bank, and in 1494, the Medici were expelled from Florence. It seemed they were finished. But power like this doesn't just vanish. It mutates. A generation later, they were back, not as bankers, but as royalty. They became the Dukes of Florence, and then the Grand Dukes of Tuscany, a dynasty that lasted for 2 more centuries. Their true legacy wasn't titles. It was the system they invented. They showed that finance could be the foundation of political power. They used credit to control governments, patronage to control culture, and alliances to control dynasties. When you admire Michelangelo's David, you're not just seeing art. You're seeing propaganda monuments paid for by a family laundering power through beauty. And their fingerprints are all over our world today. The Medici used patronage to gain influence. Billionaires now do it through foundations. They controlled politics with loans. Corporations do it with lobbying. The playbook hasn't changed, only the names. The story of the Medici is a chillingly simple lesson. Real wealth isn't measured in coins. It's measured in control. They showed the world that money doesn't just talk, it rules. If this gave you a new perspective, hit that subscribe button. History has the answers, and I'll show you where to look.